Hey everybody, welcome to the first Venture Cafe Phoenix virtual event. We are so glad that you're here, and we're really proud to announce that we have partnered with Anebe from Icon Labs. Anebe is a face that you've seen all over Venture Cafe Phoenix. He is the LinkedIn guru himself, and today you are going to learn how to grow your LinkedIn presence, 3 easy steps you can take now. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it off to my good friend Anebe, and I'll see you at the end. Enjoy.
All right. Welcome to this webinar where I get to walk through how to grow on LinkedIn in 3 easy steps. Now, this is not exhaustive, obviously. It's meant to sell the sizzle, not the steak. The idea is that you whet your appetites, see exactly what's possible, and hopefully this encourages you to go deeper with your LinkedIn branding. Without further ado, let's get it. And I do hope, by the way, that this is not discombobulating with, I was trying to figure out the best way to go over the presentation, but also share LinkedIn with you without going back and forth with the 2 different screens. But hopefully this works really well. And yeah, let's get it. So why listen to me in the first place? Why are you giving me an hour-ish of your time? So by way of introduction, Anebe Agbo here. I lead, for my day job, among a few things, digital solutions for the state of Arizona. I'm building a office of digital innovation and solutions for the entire state, working across multiple agencies. Prior to that, I've started a few companies. I've worked with companies like American Express, Zelle, consulted with Dell, Microsoft. I made a bunch of other startups you've never heard of. But through that entire process, I've been able to learn the hard way through the School of Hard Knocks, how to grow on LinkedIn, how to leverage my personal brand. So School of Hard Knocks and thousands of dollars paid to coaches, courses. And I realized it's not rocket science. It does not need to be that hard at all. Over the years, I can attribute over $50,000, $50,000 in revenue to folks who found me on LinkedIn and wanted to engage. And this is just projects. If you look at jobs I've gotten and careers, I'd say it's upwards of $200,000 from job offers I've gotten from folks, again, looking at my LinkedIn brand, at the content I'm putting out there for inbound to reach out to me versus me hustling and applying on job boards. So firsthand, I've seen the power and promise of a platform like LinkedIn, which has, I think, currently about 1 billion people on the platform. We'll get into some more stats just a little bit more. And yeah, so that's about me. I'm very bullish on LinkedIn as a powerful platform, and that's why I'm doing this, to help others leverage LinkedIn before it gets overly saturated. Agenda, so we're going to be going over 3 different steps. I'll share a few things as ideas come to mind, but the idea is to keep it simple and sweet. We're going to look at how to optimize your profile, some ideas around that. We're going to look at creating engaging content. What does that look like? Again, simplifying it. And also, how do you expand your network strategically? We're also going to look at that. Those are the 3 pillars, the 3. And again, objective of the webinar to bring it back together. The idea is that it's practical enough where you can go right away after listening to this or watching this to implement these tips in your own profile and branding. It's not going to be exhaustive. You'll be able to ask a few questions or some questions, should you have any. And my team and I will be more than happy to point you in the right direction or share resources or answer them if the answer is right there. So why LinkedIn? LinkedIn provides a massive opportunity for reach, being able to reach people. Again, 1 billion people on LinkedIn, most of whom are professionals. So they intend to buy, whether for your career, people to hire you, hire you in that case, or you have a business, or you're just looking to engage with professionals. It tends to be higher quality on LinkedIn than many other platforms. Another thing is, on average, 6 people are hired on LinkedIn every minute. Now, there are a bunch more stats we can get into, but I put a link to that, socialpilot.co/blog/LinkedIn-statistics. you're going to see a bunch of statistics to knock yourself out on there and many others online. 77% of content marketers, based on the survey they did, say that LinkedIn delivers the highest organic results. I have also seen this for myself. One of the things I own is a digital agency, a digital marketing agency, and hands down, LinkedIn has delivered the best organic results and inbound leads for us on any platform out there. And we've tested a bunch of them out. I wouldn't say we've tested all, but of all the ones we've tested, LinkedIn continues to outperform the rest. It's not even close. So regardless of whether you're building a business, looking to engage with employers or professional audience, LinkedIn tends to be the platform to focus on. So I mentioned the steps earlier. We're going to start with the first step, which is optimizing your profile. And now you're going to realize why I have my LinkedIn open. So one of the things here that I want to hit on is being able to understand the components of a standout LinkedIn profile, right? A few key aspects of this are your profile picture, the headline, the summary, and experience. So let's pull mine up. I'll use myself as, I don't have permission from anyone else. I think Scott Weaver, who works with me for a lot of the custom presentations, we're going to see his profile somewhere along the line here, but for now, mine should suffice. So one of the things you want to focus on is your profile picture, a professional profile picture, as professional as you can get it. This is AI generated. I was having fun with it, but ideally, a good practice, smile a little bit. It makes you a little more approachable. I am not doing that in this picture. I do love this picture though. But the idea here is have a professional looking profile picture. Shortly here, we're going to look at some examples of, okay, here are good ones, here are ones not to do. Ideally, you don't want something blurry, or some people go the route of whimsical if that's part of their brand. So that's another thing to think about. If depending on what your brand is, you may be able to go whimsical, funny. I've seen someone with an apple on her head, and it works for her. That's part of her brand. She writes a healthy food blog. So that's something to keep in mind. Another aspect is your headline. So your headline is what you have up here, right? So I'm going to move this away. Headlines, like, what is that saying about you? Now, it can be a word salad saying a bunch of stuff. People are like, I don't know what the heck you're doing, right? Or it can be targeted. Some folks say something like, I help 5-figure business owners grow website traffic. Boom. Okay. The 5-figure business owners read that and they're like, okay, I know what you do, right? For mine, I highlighted a few of the things that I want people to know about me right away. Digital Solutions Director. I had at State of Arizona there. That was long, but I took it out. Host of the Inflection Podcast. Webflow Partner for Tech Startups. That's my web agency that I alluded to earlier. So right away, folks can see a few snippets. I encourage also experimenting with this and playing around with what works better. But the idea here for your headline is to target it and be specific about what you're doing. And then another aspect here is a bonus. I have my URL going to wherever I want it. In my case, it's to my podcast, the Inflection Podcast. So that's something to be aware of. Again, I mentioned bonus earlier, so I'm going to throw this in there. It's something not a lot of people know. So if you go to your profile, ideally, I think you can do it on mobile, but that's a little more clunky. If you go over to your profile specifically on desktop, preferably, and you look to the right here, you should be able to customize your public profile URL. And I'm going to click on that so you see what it is, right? So public profile, you can see what my profile looks like. It's a public profile. You can see some articles. We're going to talk about those content types later on. But in my case, I'm going to highlight that, and let's open that up real quick. Settings. I'm going to go back here. Okay, great. I found what the problem was. I was like, what the heck is going on? My screen size is causing some issues. So I knew, it's like, what the heck? I know this is supposed to be here. So public profile, if you remember, again, go back to your profile specifically, click on the edit, the pencil, and it's going to open this up, public profile settings. You can edit that URL. LinkedIn gives you, is going to be linkedin.com/in/your name, usually first name, last name, hyphen a bunch of numbers. Now that's the default to differentiate accounts. You can go in there and customize it. Now this is a lot easier. Imagine sharing this with someone. Oh yeah, my LinkedIn profile. Or you can just say it's at. Now I can just say it's at Anebiagbo, right? Someone can go search and I'm a lot more findable. So that's something that a lot of folks don't know they have the ability to do. LinkedIn has made that available. And then my profile is also set to public visibility. So I allow name, number of connections, number of followers, and region. And then everyone can also see my profile picture. I don't hide that. You can hide that if you want. Should that be what you want? And then I show a lot of stuff on my public profile. You can also create a badge, which you can embed in a blog, resume, website, just so you know. I don't need to use that, but FYI. Again, you click on there, you can customize the name. I'm going to show you an example. Most profiles, let's see. I'm just going to pull someone random and oh, she's fixed it. Okay, I won't bother going down this rabbit hole with that. Point I'm trying to make is many profiles do not customize that. They do not customize their name. If you've done that already, like Hannah here, amazing, fantastic. But many people have not done that. You know what? I'm going to try one more random person. And oh, yes, perfect. So this is what I was trying to say. So if you look in my URL here up top, so Brooks, this is what LinkedIn usually does to differentiate, because there might be another Lisette, Brooks. So LinkedIn does this to differentiate, but you can go in there and customize it, and then it's a lot easier to share. Now I can tell someone, hey, my LinkedIn is that. Look how clean that is. So if you haven't done that, that's a low-hanging fruit to do right away. I'm going to go back into my profile and close all of these out. Voila. And one more thing, I'm going to expand that again. So I hope that makes sense. Another thing I'm going to look at is your summary. So we've talked about profile picture. It's great to change that, or at least have something there that is professional. We've talked about the headline. Another thing I'll add as part of the headline thing is your header image. Again, it makes sense. You don't have to do the vanilla thing LinkedIn gives you. You can create, if you Google LinkedIn header image dimensions, LinkedIn provides that. So you can create an image, use a tool like Canva, which is freemium. So there's free, and then you can pay more for it, should you be willing. But on the free version of Canva, you should be able to just create something custom, and a lot of templates and examples there for something that is unique to your brand. And you have it there. For me right now, it's create value, and what does it look like to create value? It's something I obsess over, so that's there. It's raised lots of interesting conversations with potential prospects and people I interact with. So that's another thing as part of your headline that I'll say. And then your summary section is another thing. And summary in this case is, this section here, about. You're going to see my about me. This is an attempt at a joke. And then I got a little more serious and added more stuff here. Some folks, as a government employee, so my day job now, right? I'm Director of Digital Solutions for the state of Arizona. I have a disclaimer here to that effect. But you want to use your summary section, like you want to grab attention. When someone reads that, they know exactly how to work with you, what you do, and that really helps summarize things for them. I'm going to actually show you a great example. So Matt Gray is the founder of the Founder OS and a bunch of other businesses. Let's look at Matt Gray's profile. So you can see his header image right here. boom, to the point, no fluff, no BS, just real systems. Hit the bell. So, and hitting the bell is to subscribe to updates from someone. So when you hit the bell, whenever the person posts, you're going to see. I'm going to do that just so you see. I can do just relevant ones. I could do all. Obviously, I have all checked. Let's go to Matt's summary about me. You can see who's Matt, why is he credible, what's Matt's portfolio, what are Matt's results. So here's a great example, right, on what a summary section could look like. Another person that does a really great job is, is Justin Welsh. So pull Justin Welsh up, view profile. Justin Welsh's focus is, again, you can see he leverages the heck out of his header image. You can see his headline up there, you know exactly what he's doing. You can keep going. About, you can see his about section. He tells a story there about burning out and jumping all into the diversified solopreneur thingy he's up to. You can see the operating system, his digital course, content, like all his stuff. Boom, boom, boom. He's not wasting time. So those are great examples. And then experience, you can see Justin's experience. Now this is what most people do on LinkedIn, right? You put a bunch of experiences. Usually you want to be more outcome focused. Why should I care? You just say, did X, Y, Z. Okay, great. But why should I care? So it's always helpful to paint a great picture in your experience, what you did, outcome focused. But you can see Justin's experience, a bunch of stuff. We can go into mine. You can see owner Icon Labs, Digital Solutions, Icon, host of Inflection Podcast, and a bunch of advisory boards, yada, yada. There we go. A tie-in educational as well. If you've been to schools, it's great to add that on there. And I'm going to explain also further down the line about why it's great to add all of those things. But summaries, think of your LinkedIn profile like a website. If you have a website, one thing you get familiar with is SEO, search engine optimization. So as you add all of these things, all these data points to your profile, those are all ways to make your profile more findable. And then for those who are tied to those companies or schools, even if it's not accredited, I mean, the Alt MBA was a non-accredited school. The idea is it's an alternative MBA, right? Different than the traditional track. But now when I try to connect with people from Alt MBA, the odds of them connecting with me are a lot higher because we have that mutual connection, Alt MBA. I won't say much about it right now because further down the line as we go on, I'm going to unpack that a little bit more. And that's that on this. I think I have another slide that buttresses this a little bit more. Earlier on, I already talked about this, but here's some examples. Good profile picture. The profile picture is clear, good lighting. This is blurry, hanging with the cat. Hanging with the cat is not as much a problem, but it's blurry, right? Folks are like, what's going on here? Again, this is the focus of this is more professional outlook. Now you can do your thing, but good guidelines, professional picture, good lighting, nothing obscuring you, can see you. Ideally, you look approachable, or at least an intriguing picture. People are like, oh, interesting. I want to connect with this person. And you someone chilling in their bathrobe, PJs, and doing whatever. So again, good best practices. We talked about this, crafting an impactful headline. We looked at some examples for that. We talked about experience, right? What does that look like? How to list your experiences. Again, you want to focus on things you've done or are doing. You want to look at outcomes, impact for the summary and your associated experiences. And another thing I'm going to look at is skills, endorsements, recommendations. Now, this is something you should not. I'm going to reduce the size of my head here. There we go. Something you should not sleep on. The skills, again, are like data points. We talked about search engine optimization earlier. The more of those as you relevant, obviously, don't just go add a bunch of skills. Add things that you're competent with. And LinkedIn, I think the still do. Folks can actually say, yes, maybe he's highly good at public speaking, or maybe he's highly good at product management, or whatever the heck it is. Right, there's this social verification process LinkedIn does that others can go say yes, co-sign on that. So I'd say it's available, use it. It's extra data points, and others can go vote on that. And I bet you've been able to do that for others. Endorsements and recommendations. We're going to look at that shortly, the importance of that. Well, first, let's look at skills. I have projects, and again, as a bonus, if you've worked on specific projects, for me, again, I own a web design agency. So, boom, we add some of those projects on here. Hey, it's available. It's more data points. Folks look at that stuff sometimes. So, phenomenal. You can see licenses and certifications here. Again, I'm looping this under skills, but if there are licenses you've done, I've done a bunch of the LinkedIn stuff. I have some here. Click up. You can see I have those here. Let's just scroll through real quick. Hotspot Academy, SEMrush, Fit Driven Entrepreneur, quite a few things. I have all of these listed on here, and I had to cut it out because there were some that were not even relevant. At some point, once upon a time, I was obsessed with a bunch of licenses, certifications, and shareable credentials. But that all helps because again, it makes you more findable on LinkedIn. I have volunteering here. Skills. You can see some skills that I have. You can see endorsed by people. I have 50. I think 50 is the max you can have on LinkedIn. I believe. Oh, diaper changing. I have diaper changing there for when we had a little one. And some allow you to do skill assessments via LinkedIn. So that's pretty neat. I'm not going to hit the nail on it. I'm not going to beat a dead horse with this. Skills, endorsements, recommendations are awesome. It's available on LinkedIn. It's a great data point to make you more findable. And as folks also look through your profile, it's more validation. So I'd say leverage it. Now, there's something else I want to talk about, and it's recommendations. So let's go back into recommendations. You can see here I've received a few recommendations. This is very helpful, especially for those looking for work, for those with their own businesses. The more recommendations you have, it's helpful because when someone is researching you and looking at your profile, they scroll, they go recommendations. You have 3, 4, 5, X amount. In my case, 6 people recommending me. That really helps. Think of these like reviews. A business has Google reviews. Well, hey, these are your reviews for the business of you on LinkedIn. So it's something to not to sleep on. And LinkedIn also makes it stupid easy to get recommendations. You click, right? I can ask for a recommendation or give a recommendation. In this case, I can say ask. I can search for whoever I want to ask for a recommendation from, right? And enter it and then ask them. Probably can get a lot more if I want to, and you as well. Ask. You'd be surprised the number of people who would respond. If you've worked with someone and done a good job of, they've known you for years, like Aaron here has known me for years and we've collaborated on projects, boom. Same with Melissa and some of the other people. And then also be generous with giving recommendations. If you work with someone, right, and they do a particularly good job or they worked on a project and they knocked it out the park. Now companies have these review recommendation process internally, but why not expand beyond that? Something they can actually use if they left that company, right? So that's something I advocate for as well. Someone does a great job. Go on LinkedIn if they're on LinkedIn, if you're connected, and recommend them. It's really helpful. It's kind. And in turn, if you're working with folks, ask for recommendations. So again, I won't beat a dead horse with that. The strategy here is simple. Do a great job and ask for recommendations. Don't be shy. And you could even start with your friends. It doesn't have to be someone you worked with directly. It could be someone just vouching for your character and saying, hey, I've worked with John or Mary or an AB for a while. I've known them for years. They do a really great job. I enjoy the conversations we have about fill in the blank. Whoever works with them is lucky to have them. Boom, done. It doesn't have to be someone you worked directly with on a project. So that's as practical as that will get. So next phase, now you've worked on your profile picture, you've fixed that, you've added a good header image, you've added a good header or headline for what you're about, you've added a summary for who you're looking to reach, what you're trying to do on here. You've added your job experiences, you've cleaned that up, you've made it more outcome focused. I worked here and I did this so that this could happen, right? Great, you've done all of that. You've added skills, you've added certifications, educational experience, you've asked for recommendations, you've gotten a few. Now what next? That's phase 1. You have your foundation in place. The next thing to go for is creating good content and engaging content. Again, that is something that drives a lot of people berserk. How do I start? We look at all the great influencers out there getting 3,000 likes on on their content. We look at Alex friggin Hormozi, right, getting thousands of likes. It's taking years to get to this point, but thousands of likes. Looking at Justin Welsh, Matt Gray, those profiles I shared earlier with all kinds of engagement, but they started from somewhere, right? And that's somewhere we're going to talk about here shortly. Now, the different kinds of content on LinkedIn. There's, content, there's posting content like articles. There's posts, videos, images. We can go, if you want to even break down images, and talk about carousels, the ones that you swipe. It's like a multi-page doc. So all kinds of content. And there's different posting frequencies. Some folks will tell you to post every day, or twice a day, or thrice a week. Honestly, the posting frequency that works is the one that works for you. I'll say that again. The posting frequency that works is the one that works for you. So the game here is figuring out different kinds of content, figuring out a posting frequency that is sustainable for you, and starting there. I'll throw out another stat for you. Now, LinkedIn has 1 billion people on the platform. Out of that, most people don't post more than once a week. If you post more than once a week, you're in the top 1% of LinkedIn creators. Because most people on LinkedIn are lurkers, right? They look, they like, maybe they comment occasionally, maybe they reshare, but most don't post their own content. A reshare would actually even constitute content, but most people don't even do that. So if you're posting twice a week, which is more than once, you're in the top 1% of people on LinkedIn. So food for thought, let that sink in for a bit. But let's keep going here. So what are different types of LinkedIn posts? I think I jumped the gun and already said this. So we have posts, we have articles, we have videos, we have, what's I going to say? We have images, right? As part of that, or multimedia. So videos. So let's keep going here. And I'm going to show you some. If you remember earlier, I said my whole thing is create value. So let's look through my posts for a bit. I'm also going to show you some analytics. Now, again, bonus content. There is a tool I use called Taplio. It is freaking fantastic. There's trials available, I think like 14 or 30-day trial. Let me know if Taplio is interesting to you. But Taplio allows you to, let's looky here real quick. I'm going to do the thing again where I increase that. So we can look at some analytics on Taplio. So Taplio here, it's an extension, sits on top of my LinkedIn. You can see some posts that I've done particularly well, 1,000, 431, so on and so forth. So I think it orders it in descending order from, the high performing posts to the lower ones. And the idea is, figuring out, content that resonates with your audience, right? And you can also, a great way is looking at some of the folks in your space. Now, maybe your focus is working with small businesses to build websites or whatever, right? Look at some other people in that space who are doing well and look at the kinds of posts. And I'd say still like an artist. Now, stealing like an artist is not just ripping someone off. It's you look at it, you're inspired and like, oh, interesting. Now it gives me some ideas. And then you customize it to yourself and you do something similar. I'll show you an example. And again, another bonus point that I'll make. LinkedIn allows you to save articles or posts or content on LinkedIn that you find interesting. So if I read something like this 2 weeks ago, blah, blah, blah. Let's say I read this, it's long, but 473, so his audience loves whatever it is he's talking about. If I particularly like this, I can click and I can save it. Now save that. I can save that, and LinkedIn keeps these. If you go to my items here, again, I'm in the homepage feed. I go to my items, different jobs that I was looking at in the past. I can look at saved posts, and boom, there we go. So this could become your Rolodex of ideas as well. Obviously, you can just get the URL for that, right? You can just get the link, copy the link to post, put it in some spreadsheet. I think you could just say inspiring posts, boom, add a bunch there, and then you can clean through those when you're trying to get content ideas to post. So I can look at something like this if I'm in a similar space, retention.com, say, okay, I like how he talks about 2 weeks ago, he set the stage for it. He talks about the things, right? 1, 2, 3. Now LinkedIn, folks on LinkedIn love listicles, being able to list different things. Now this is a long way to do that because he has a list, right, the things, and then he's a paragraph or a few paragraphs expanding on that. But again, I could look at this and say, oh, interesting. I like something I might be able to expand on like this. That's one example. I'm going to go back again just to show you some other articles. And then Greg Isenberg is someone that I follow. I dig his content. He's in a similar space as me. Being patient is the hardest part about being an entrepreneur. And then he goes on. Now what he has up here is what, well, it's opening that up, is what is considered a hook. Many times as people scroll, right, there's a deluge of content all over the place. If you can't hook people in the first couple of seconds, they're gone. So for folks, entrepreneurs who build, buy multiple businesses, right, a lot of them resonate with this. I resonate with this. Being patient is hard. Like, I am not naturally patient. I want to go. So I get it. I'm like, oh yeah, interesting. You're speaking to me. Go on. So that's a very great post. Could give me an idea. I have it saved. I can go write something similar. Not the same. Again, contextualize it, hook, boom, and expand. In a 4-week cohort I'll be doing, I'm going to break down hooks a lot more and the different kinds of hooks to leverage. And also AI now has changed the game with helping come up with different hooks. You can write your content, right? And you can then, Taplio has AI directly in it, or ChatGPT or Anthropic or one of the other, or Google Gemini, one of the other ones. You can say, hey, generate 6 different hooks for me, for this audience, for this is what I'm trying to emote, things like that. Again, that's not in scope for this course, but that's something I'll be talking about a lot more later on. So again, the idea of valuable content is valuable if your audience finds it valuable, not just your perception. So that's what I'm trying to expand on here. And along those lines, as you experiment and post different kinds of things, it's important to go look at the data. Which posts did well, which posts didn't, and why. You could go deeper that way. You can leverage, you can double down on the posts that did really well. I'm going to show you a quick sneak peek of what my Taplio looks like. And the idea is just to give you quick analytics. Now, LinkedIn has native analytics in it. It's fine, but I like the kinds of insights that I get from tools like Taplio. So I can say my stats, can look at the last 90 days or all. I think all actually goes 180 days or something like that, but I can look at past 90 days. I can see follower growth, 4.5% versus the previous period, comparable period. 65 posts. You can see impressions at 57,335 comments, shares 34, likes, so on and so forth. You can look at followers from beginning of March, a little over 12,000 to pretty much $400 more people in May, so in 2 months. So I can look at, okay, which ones drove engagement, and I can see here. Okay, this was recent, 103. I can look at, oh, interesting. I can dive into that. I won't spend a lot of time here, but that's the idea. You can look at what is working and you can double down on what's working. Now, some of you may say, gee, thanks for sharing that, but what if I don't have something fancy like Taplio, which costs, $20 or whatever per month? Well, LinkedIn also provides the best analytics you can get is what you have right in your hands, and LinkedIn provides some of that. So I'm going to click on profile, viewers. That's a data point. LinkedIn caps it off if you're not on premium. I used to be on premium. I don't need that because I pay for a bunch of other things. Post impressions, I can click on that. I can see basic analytics. So 5,100 post impressions in the past 7 days. Followers grew the past 7 days as well, and so on and so forth. You can play around with that. If you're serious about starting to create on LinkedIn, I encourage you, it's free. Turn on creator tools. You get access to some more stuff. So newsletters, follow link, audio event. I can do audio events. LinkedIn Live. LinkedIn Live is, you've probably seen some of those where someone has like a live thing going on and you can watch that. I was just on one with Nicole Zainal. I'm just going to show you that so you see what a LinkedIn Live looks like. So I'm going to click on that. And you can see recently we were live, the What the Frack show, and it saves it. That's a cool thing. It records it so someone can go watch it again. So that's a LinkedIn Live, which could be a kind of LinkedIn content in itself. Again, my point here is not to be exhaustive. It's just I'm touching a bunch of different things. I hope that's helpful. So consistency and engagement. At the end of the day, if you remember earlier, I talked about the cadence that works for you is the cadence you should go with. And maybe over time, if you want to start posting once a week consistently, then do that. If you want to post twice a week consistently, then do that. And so on and so forth. To also systematize that process so it's not so daunting. It may make sense, pick an hour or two, got a bunch of posts you like, create yours, create drafts, and schedule it out. LinkedIn now allows you, I believe you can schedule either 3 months out or 6 months out directly on LinkedIn. How do you schedule on LinkedIn? Let's go back to my profile, start a post, yada, yada. I can click on schedule for later. And now I can, so let's see. So we're in May, June. So 3 months out. 90 days, LinkedIn allows you to schedule, which is phenomenal. So you don't even gone on the days where you absolutely needed a tool like Hootsuite or some social media scheduler, although those are helpful. I use Taplio for that, of course, to schedule posts out, but at least even natively through the platform, if you didn't pay for anything else, you can also schedule posts out. So it's like you've already done the pre-work. Some Saturday you're available, you have a few hours, you write a few posts, even if it's short and sweet posts, you schedule those out, and that starts to tickle the algorithm, right, as you have things consistently going out. And then another thing I talk about is being able to comment and engage. So it's not just post and forget. The LinkedIn algorithm takes into consideration how often you engage with other people. So I would say you see a post like this, like, oh, this is interesting. Well, add a thoughtful comment to that. Not just liking it and not just, I agree, which that works. If that's all you can do, this makes sense. This is awesome. Do that. But if it made you think something else, a thoughtful comment, I would say, because time is limited, then go for that. Now, again, to systematize something that might be helpful is having a framework in place like 10, 10, 5, where it's 10 connection requests, which I'm going to talk about shortly, about strategic connection. 10 connection 10 comments a day. You look, or if it's 3 times a week that works for you, again, go for that. Okay, you're going to do 10 connection requests to people who you have affinity with. Again, we'll talk about that shortly. 10 thoughtful comments, and maybe another 5, right, opportunities for you to engage with folks. Like, do that. That's a good way to start. And to summarize that again, so having a process in place, like, again, I'm just throwing out numbers: 10, 10, 5, 10 connection requests, 10 comments, and maybe 5 posts a week or something like that, or maybe 3 is what works for you. Whatever. These are all variables that you play around with. That's a good rule of thumb, and you just rinse, repeat, and you obviously keep looking at the data and fine-tuning things appropriately. So that's a good place to start. Ideally, also strategically, if you look at people with big accounts, Justin Welsh has 548,000. People like that are whales. So if you add a thoughtful comment, if you make a habit of adding thoughtful comments on accounts like that, on posts, others who are following them, because they have a lot of people following them, again, from an SEO perspective, there's a captive audience already looking at their stuff for good reason. So as you build a habit of adding thoughtful comments to their stuff, others start to, oh, interesting. Yes, you added value. You created value here. I'll follow you as well. I'll connect with you. That's one big hack for also growing your account. Again, we're going to dive deeper into some of these things in the 4-week cohort, but I hope that's helpful. And that leads us to expanding your network strategically. Now, I beg you, do not do the spray and pray approach. Spray and pray is let's look at a perfect example. My network, right? I look in here. Now all of these people work for State of Arizona, which, okay, that's a warmer connection. I can boom, boom, boom. But I may see totally random people here. Connect. I'm hoping like, oh, maybe they found something interesting in my profile to connect. You will inevitably get some folks connecting with you that way, but your rate of people not connecting back, not saying accept, is going to be pretty high. The likelihood of people connecting with you goes up astronomically if, one, you've been engaging with their content or similar people. Maybe someone posted about you and you saw a bunch of likes on that from them and you realize, oh, we're not connected. You can reach out that way. That's warmer because someone that trusts and that you trust maybe made a post about you, and I'm going to show you an example here shortly. Another thing is figuring out hacks to connect and grow your audience. I'm going to talk about that shortly. And then the importance of groups. I cannot underscore the importance of groups enough here. So what does it look like to build strategic connections? Well, let's look into that real quick. Again, I'm going to use myself as an example here. So I was just in Utah for a conference where I spoke. So I spoke at the Qualtrics X4 conference. I spoke in a panel. There were 3 of us, someone interviewing us, moderating, with Marcy Jacobs, who is the Chief Experience Officer. So like a similar role as what I have in Arizona, but from Maryland. And we talked about the work we're doing to build digital service teams and innovation in government, right? So phenomenal. This has had over 102 likes. Now, not everyone who has liked this is connected to me already. Let's look, maybe if we can see some examples. So we might see a few second degree connections in here. Boom, perfect. So I can tell already I posted something, they liked it. So they're already looking at my profile. So if I were to send a connection request to those individuals, the likelihood that they will accept is already a lot higher than just finding someone random on LinkedIn. So that's what I mean by growth hacks and strategic connections, right? They're already a captive audience. They already like my stuff. Like, oh, interesting. We're not connected. Send a connect request. So that's one thing I use to get high rates of acceptance for my connection requests. Another strategy which is very similar to this would be if someone posted about you, again using myself as an example with the event I was just at. So I posted about that, right? And this was a repost. So the moderator who interviewed us reposted Marcy's post. Yeah, it's getting confusing. And I talked about that. Well, that's another place I can look through the people who like this content. Oh, interesting. Well, they just saw my name at mentioned. They're Jill, connections of Jill. They maybe were at this event or whatever. Now I'm on their radar, and I can go click connect to all these folks. Again, the likelihood that they accept is higher. Another thing that is helpful as you look to connect, if you remember earlier when I clicked on my network, it showed me a bunch of folks, I'm not connected to these people yet, who work for the state of Arizona. That's another place. If you work for a company and you connect with folks who work at that company, the likelihood that they accept is pretty high because, hey, we work for the same company. Why should I not connect with you? Why should I have animosity towards you? So that really helps. It works. Same thing works for previous companies you've worked at. Like I've worked at American Express, I've consulted with Microsoft and a bunch of other places. So when I go connect to people from those companies, when they see that I'm an alumni or alumnus of that company, it does help. So those are a few ways. Another thing I look at is geographically. So I can go over here and say, digital designers, and that's just random, right? I love the LinkedIn filter. I can say I'm looking for people. Now, something that helps a bit is to say Phoenix. I live in Phoenix. So the likelihood that we have more affinity or connections goes up. I can keep slicing and dicing and adding more of these, right? I can say Phoenix. I can say Queen Creek to be specific. I can say company, right? I'm looking for people who work at X company that I used to work at. This really helps. Now, it's not the spray and pray approach, because it's a little more targeted. The narrower it gets for places that you've overlapped, worked together, attended school, the better the likelihood that they connect back with you. They say, oh, yes, we went to CGCC or wherever you went. So those are a few strategies I look at. You can even go as far as saying, so let's go off filter. We can say, hey, I want to connect with people who are connections of my friend, John, right? Who's worked in such and such an industry, who lives in Phoenix. So you can really drill this down to the level that you want. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. We'll go deeper in a more in-depth course. And then personalizing connections. So it's not enough to just be able to filter and narrow down. Another aspect that is helpful is adding a thoughtful connect request message. You can say something. If I were to connect with Zachary, for example, I can say, hey, Zachary, I attended, I used to work at the Aftermarket Performance Group, which I see you work there right now. I would love to connect with you already. So I'm saving him the trouble of having to click and look at my profile. Oh yeah, we used to work at the same place. I just told him that I worked at Aftermarket Performance Group. So that's super helpful. That's something that some folks automatically will not even accept the connection request if there's no message. It's like, what's the context? You're making me work here. I'm not going to go scan through your profile to figure out what mutual connection or why we should connect. So make it easy for the folks you connect in with. Groups. Earlier on I mentioned groups. Groups are phenomenal places to connect, and they're good opportunities. You can see I'm in quite a few groups here. As you post and you engage on groups, especially for larger groups, folks inevitably start to see you and inbound, right? Oh yeah, Brandy or an AB is always posting stuff here. Oh, I'll reach out to an AB. So this is actually reducing the amount of work you have to do, because again, if you think of it as an search engine optimization, groups and nodes in there in LinkedIn, as you engage in these different nodes, right? More folks are aware of you and they start to reach out and also send you connect requests. You can see here, I'm part of quite a few, Power BI and so on and so forth. I actually put a poll in here a while ago, which had, I don't know if it was a couple hundred folks voted on it or so. It was high, and I did get, so it has 20,000 members, and that was helpful. My audience grew through that, and I got great answers to my poll. So groups are definitely worth exploring. Alt MBA, I mentioned that earlier. Alt MBA has 1,400 members. I've posted on here before. So again, when I send connection requests, like, oh yeah, we know who an AB is, an AB posts in our group. Or people actually actively reach out to you. So it's very helpful to leverage groups on LinkedIn. And to bring it all together, so we've talked about, it's been a whirlwind tour of talking about optimizing your profile, creating engaging content that resonates with your audience, valuable content, and then a few ideas and opportunities to increase or expand your network strategically. Do not spray and pray. And thank you very much for engaging and going through this. You have my LinkedIn. I've been using it as an example. So if we're not connected on LinkedIn, do reach out on LinkedIn. If you're curious about more, I want to go deeper, there is a cohort that the wonderful folks will talk about, and my team will be more than happy to engage, share, and hopefully see you on the inside.
Everybody, welcome back, and thank you for watching. I hope you got as much out of this program as I did. One more time, thank you to Enebe and Icon Labs for partnering with Venture Cafe Phoenix for the first Venture Cafe Phoenix virtual event. Hey, check it out. If you liked what you saw here today and you want to learn more, Anebe has a 4-week LinkedIn cohort that's going to start on June 3rd, and we'll be in touch with more details. Just wanted to let you know about that. As always, we look forward to seeing you every Thursday, 5 to 7, 850 North 5th Street. You already know the deal. Free to attend, free parking, 2 free drinks. We look forward to seeing you real soon.